The bombs had fallen, and the world watched in horror as the skies over Hiroshima and Nagasaki filled with the fiery remnants of what was once a bustling city. The devastation was unfathomable, and the Japanese people were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. For a moment, it seemed as though there could be no hope for a country so ravaged by war. But out of the ashes, a new Japan began to emerge. With the help of the United States, the country set out on a path towards economic and political freedom. This is the story of how Japan overcame its post-war struggles and rose to become one of the world's leading economic powers. The first few years after the war were a time of great uncertainty for the Japanese people. With much of the country in ruins, many were left homeless and without the means to rebuild. The situation was made worse by the fact that Japan was still under the control of the Allied powers, who were imposing strict restrictions on the country's economic and political activities. However, despite the challenges, the Japanese people were determined to rebuild their country and create a better future for themselves and their families. This determination was matched by the support of the United States, who recognized that a strong and stable Japan was essential to the stability of the region as a whole. Under the guidance of the U.S. occupation forces, Japan set out on a path towards economic recovery. The country's industrial base, which had been largely destroyed during the war, was rebuilt with the help of American aid and expertise. American companies were invited to invest in Japan, and Japanese workers were trained in the latest manufacturing techniques. The results were astonishing. By the 1960s, Japan had become one of the world's leading producers of automobiles, electronics, and other high-tech products. The country's economy was growing at a rapid pace, and the standard of living for the average Japanese citizen was improving dramatically. At the same time, Japan was also making progress towards becoming a more politically free and democratic society. The country's post-war constitution, which was largely drafted by American officials, enshrined the principles of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Japan's political system was transformed, with power shifting away from the old aristocracy and towards a more representative system of government. Despite these successes, Japan's path towards becoming a truly free and democratic society was not without its challenges. The country was still grappling with the legacy of its wartime atrocities, and there were many who were resistant to the changes that were taking place. However, the determination of the Japanese people, coupled with the support of the United States, eventually prevailed. Today, Japan is a vibrant and prosperous democracy, with a strong economy and a rich cultural heritage. The country's post-war struggles may have been daunting, but the Japanese people have shown that even in the face of unimaginable adversity, it is possible to build a better future. As Japan's economy continued to grow in the latter half of the 20th century, the country emerged as a major global economic power. By the 1980s, Japan had surpassed Germany to become the world's second-largest economy, behind only the United States. This economic growth was driven by a number of factors, including Japan's highly skilled workforce, its commitment to technological innovation, and its emphasis on quality and efficiency in manufacturing. Japan's success in these areas allowed the country to produce high-quality products at a lower cost than many of its competitors, making its goods highly sought after in global markets. In particular, Japan became known for its dominance in the automobile and consumer electronics industries. Brands like Toyota, Honda, and Sony became household names around the world, and Japanese products flooded the global market. This success was not without its downsides, however. Japan's rapid economic growth created a number of challenges, including a rapidly aging population, a lack of natural resources, and an over-reliance on exports. Perhaps the most significant challenge was the overvaluation of the Japanese yen, which made Japanese exports more expensive and less competitive in global markets. In response, the Japanese government began a series of monetary policies to devalue the yen, including keeping interest rates artificially low and purchasing large amounts of foreign currencies. These policies had the unintended consequence of fueling a massive asset bubble in Japan, with real estate and stock prices soaring to unprecedented levels. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, this bubble burst, leading to a major economic recession in Japan that lasted for more than a decade. The effects of the recession were felt throughout the Japanese economy. Companies that had once been leaders in their industries struggled to compete with foreign competitors, and many were forced to downsize or close their doors altogether. The unemployment rate rose sharply, and the Japanese government was forced to undertake massive stimulus measures to try to jumpstart the economy. Despite these challenges, however, Japan has continued to be a major economic power. Today, the country remains a leader in high-tech industries like robotics and renewable energy, and its commitment to quality and efficiency continues to make Japanese products highly sought after around the world. The lessons of Japan's economic history are many, but perhaps the most important is the need for balance. While rapid economic growth can be a powerful force for change and development, it must be managed carefully to avoid the risks of over-reliance on exports, asset bubbles, and economic instability. With its continued commitment to innovation and quality, however, Japan remains poised to continue as a major player in the global economy for many years to come.